Welcome to the Clifton Worley Show. This week we have Josh and Nick. What's up, guys?
What's up, Clifton? What's up, Josh?
Well, not much. Just happy to be here, guys.
Yeah, I tell you what, this is an interesting time of year. Like Christmas is over, New Year's has come, and like it's kind of hard to get that grind going again, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
for real.
Yeah, it sure is, man.
And
So
it's,
Yeah.
this year sucked already.
Oh man.
it's gonna
No,
get
it's not.
better. It's
I
gonna get
said
better.
Sheesh. Okay.
This is the aftermath of 2017. That's what we're feeling
That's
right
all
now.
it is. It's gonna go uphill from there. So
Yeah, it's leftovers. Leftovers.
well,
For sure.
what's going on new with you guys?
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we're gonna talk about some of it later, but I think I'll talk about this now. My last week, my student came in and said, "Oh, I got an electric guitar for Christmas," and so I loaned out my pedal board to him, and it was really cool to hear that he was playing it, and I was kind of excited to see where he goes with it. And he had said, "Oh, somebody gave me an amp. Somebody gave me an amp, so I don't need one, so I don't have to go shopping for it." And he comes in this Wednesday, and I kind of glance at it, and I'm like, "Huh, that's kind of a funny looking front man. It's only got two knobs on it." Then I look a little closer. Hey, that looks like a 70s Fender logo. And I look closer, it says Champ on it. And I look at the back, 75 Champ. A 75 Champ in perfect shape. Somebody had just updated the cord so that it had a ground on it.
Uh-huh.
And everything else was original on it, except for I think that looks like somebody replaced the grill cloth. And then somebody has had the chassis off because the two little metal braces on it that kind of keep the screws from going through the body of the amp, the case of the amp.
Mm-hmm.
Those are gone too. And so I'm freaking out a little bit. And he's like, he didn't get it because he didn't think it was that good. He was like kind of down on it, and he was thinking, well, because he was kind of jealous of one of my other students' valve states.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is like an insane gift. He just gave this to you? And he's like, yeah, he just gave it to me. And so I'm playing, and I'm like, this is a genuinely good sounding amp. And I can't believe how loud that 6 watts is. You know,
Yeah.
that 5-6 watts is, and it sounded amazing. I mean, and it was so much fun to play. I kind of didn't want to give up playing it, especially with that Bullet Mustang that I'd recommended he got.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I mean, that neck felt great. The amps felt great. It responded to pedals amazingly. And then you crank that thing all the way up, and it's got a great sound in that little 8-inch speaker. It's really cool. So that was one really interesting and fun new thing that I had this week. Just to see somebody get a piece of gear for free, a kid, that'll get him started right. And I told him and his parents, don't ever sell that thing. You will be kicking yourself for the rest of your life if you sell that thing. Because they got it for free, and it's, I showed them, I said, well, look, this is there. They go for $500 to $1,000. It's a really sought after amp. You don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know?
In turn, like, it's a good thing you weren't like being slimy with them, because like the shady guitar teacher would have been like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $50 for it, and taking advantage.
I'll trade
of it. Yeah.
I'll trade you my orange. I'll trade you my orange for it.
Yeah.
So wait, where did this kid get this amp again?
Well, there's a guy that his dad knows near where he lives, and I think he works with him. And he got a really killer deal on this on his Ovation, an American Ovation Legend or something like that. Really nice playing guitar from the guy bought it for a couple $100 a few years ago, and then a year ago, and he bought this this was given to him by the guy. It's just a guy that his dad knows from work who doesn't play anymore, but and it's really interesting because his grandpa has like a 59 or 60 P bass and a bunch of other like really high end gear, but his grandpa gave him a classical guitar to start on. Not a bad one, but I think because his grandpa's older and has kind of arthritic hands, he's thinking, well, this will be easier for him to start on. But man, getting that Champ, getting that Ovation, it's like, and this kid practices. I mean, he comes in and he's practiced 2-3 hours a day. So
Wow.
that was the right kid to give that amp to.
That's
I mean,
pretty
it was just
sweet.
so cool.
It's also really interesting. Nobody really like. I mean, a lot of people don't even really think of champs as being like a practice amp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like that was probably just that guy's practice amp.
And that's what I'm thinking. He's probably just an old guy who's like, yeah, I mean, I've got this tube amp laying around, but I mean, I've got 3 stacks or something. I'm fine with these, you know. And this little,
some kind of 212 or a different a basement or something or.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea that an amp is like great sounding as a champ.
Yeah.
At one point was just like, oh yeah, it's my practice amp.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was really surprised by it because I never actually played one. I played, other nice Fender amps, and I was really surprised by the sound of it. It wasn't really overly bright, and it really had an interesting. It was kind of like it didn't really sound like a Fender. It just sounded like a really interesting amp. It didn't have that big scoop in it but it could have been because everything was kind of old on it. It just had that great vintage amp sound, and it had that great vintage tube amp smell, the oxidation when it gets cooking a little bit. Oh, nice. Yeah. So I've been talking about that for a while. What about you guys? Who else has something new they want to talk about?
Well, somebody introduced me to Goodwill auctions.
Oh man.
It wasn't great for me.
Yeah, they might as well rename that.
Well, honestly, like I wish I'd have known that. I mean, I ended up with a really good parlor. Like I ended up with the right parlor, but there has been. I mean, I passed on one yesterday that was just like mine.
Huh.
And it was going for, I think it had 4 bids on it. It was ending in an hour, and it was $20 it was like 12 because the way they do it there is they have a handling cost they put on there, and then the shipping is never very high, but the handling they break it out. Mm-hmm. So it would have ended up being like $25 to ship it to me, and I was like, wow, I can get another one of these for $50 again.
Yeah.
And then another one showed up for like $10, and another one showed up for $15, and another one showed up for $30 that was in better shape. And then I was like, wow, this place is like a freaking gold mine for these things. Like I had no idea. I mean, because if you just search, like, you can search by the name of the guitar, but if you just type in acoustic, of course you get your first stacks and you get everything else in there, and the basic budget Fenders and Washington Lions and all that stuff like that, and some Yamahas. But the harmonies, like there's a bunch of harmonies on there that people don't really know anything about, and it just says kids guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not a kid's guitar, that's a Silvertone, or that's a or that's or I'm finding all these other weird brands now too. Like there's a couple of them on there that were obviously like harmonies, and they were Odell's or something like that, and they all look, I mean, they're all different, but they're all the same kind of parlor guitars, they're floating bridge and resonator tailpiece and all that. And I'm like, man, this place has got, so the problem with it is that most of them don't take pictures of the side of the neck,
the stuff you need.
Yeah. You can see, like, they'll tell you, like, you can see by some of the pictures, like Josh, you sent me one yesterday.
Yeah.
Looked great, but when you looked at the 12th fret, you could tell that the shadow of the string was visible. And you could tell it was like an inch off the fretboard, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, that's definitely not, like, that needs a set. And then sometimes they'll say neck is separating from the body, and you can totally tell, because what happens is those things cave. They're such small guitars with, and they just kind of cave in, and you can see the neck the strings on the 12th fret are just way off the fretboard. So what I usually do is ask them, can you send me a picture of the 12th fret side? And they've all been willing to do that. The problem is they do it with like 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Well, I might not get it, and then, like, I'm not gonna buy, I mean, I guess you could buy a guitar sight unseen for $25, but I mean, how much work do you really want to do to it? I mean, like, I guess if I wanted to learn how to do a neck reset on a guitar, and practice some like hack luthier skills, I guess that would be something good for me to do. Like, I could just buy one of those and, like, okay, this one's really messed up, I'm gonna take the neck off this one, or maybe you buy it for the parts, or something like that, or maybe it's maybe this is a good candidate for a Baxendale conversion.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's something in there that's just not that great, and
Yeah.
you know, you're like, okay, well, I know I'm going to need more work than this, but I'll buy it for the body and everything looks solid. It just needs an adjustment. I'll send it, you know, right in. But man, I've been really impressed with the amount of stuff on there. And there's a lot of solid bodies on there too that are really like a lot of old Harmony solid bodies. And a lot of old, you know, it's like Squire type stuff I've seen on there. And amplifiers, I'm not finding too much that's cool.
Yeah.
There's a couple things, but most of them are those basic solid state amps, like a lot of crates and stuff like that. But you never know. Like, it's something that I'd want to watch. Like, you'd want to watch it almost every day because you never know what's going to creep up on there. If you just look at the auctions under music, and they always like the way it's set up is that it's always filtered by endings first. So, you know, if I'm starting to see all these guitars and stuff showing up at like $20 with an hour left.
Yeah.
Like, well, man, that's a shot at that guitar. You know, most of the time on eBay, you find something like that, and it's already got 25 bids on it, and somebody's got their watch on, and they're basically, you know, just waiting to snipe that last bid, or they've got their proxy set at $120.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you know. But if you can get a guitar shipped for $50-$60, I mean, that's totally worth it to me. I don't know what kind of shape I don't know how it kind of scares me because I'm wondering how they're going to actually ship it. I mean, I guess it is Goodwill, and all these individual stores are the ones that are listing sites. So I would imagine to keep the brand in good shape, they're shipping it pretty well, wouldn't you think?
Well, you know, I mean, I think that if it were me and I were doing the Goodwill thing, I would ship it through. I mean, because they've got to have trucks going back and forth.
Yeah.
I would ship it internally. And then just have it going up that way. And sure, it might take 3 weeks to get there, but that's probably how they do it so cheap. Or, you know, Goodwill's got to have some kind of deal with either the post office or because a lot of that stuff that they get when they overrun, they ship it over to Africa and stuff. You know, they ship it over to because and there's a huge industry for that where they take them and they redo the clothes and then they wear them in other countries. You know, they ship it to various places where they use the clothing for rags and such, like, you know. So yeah, I mean, they've got to have some sort of deal where they can get a good deal on shipping, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say on that.
I don't know who did.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say that I spent a good amount of time, like, it was kind of like a rabbit hole for me, because it was unlike, like, you kind of get the hang of Craigslist after a while and Facebook Marketplace, and, you know, you don't see a lot of good stuff after a while. Like, it kind of runs its course. But I think this is a good untapped gold mine for that kind of stuff. And one of the things I found out very quickly was, like, how you search it. Like, don't click in, like, high-end name brands like Gibson or Fender. You're not going to find a lot. But, like, start looking at the obscure stuff, and you'll see that sometimes what they're asking is like a third or a fourth of, you know, what it goes for. So I could see like a flipper who wanted to sit there and dedicate some time and, you know, just wanted to keep adding things to their shopping cart. Like, that would be a good pipeline, you know, for flips that they could turn around and do on Craigslist and do on Facebook Marketplace. One of the areas that I thought was interesting, and I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to it, is some of the electronics, like looking up brands like Tascam and Focusrite, some of the PA stuff. There was tons of PV powered mixers in there, and Mackie, and if even like if you were in a pinch and you needed some gear to gig with, that stuff was going for uber cheap, you know. So I think that as long as it's not getting a lot of attention, but all these people are dumping off stuff at Goodwill like they do, I think it's going to continue to be a pretty good pipeline. And so I'm going to keep checking it out, and I'd be interested to see what you guys find on there as well.
Yeah. You know, what I find interesting is that kind of feels like the way that eBay felt, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
Craigslist felt, 15 years ago, where, you would go on there and you would find a deal,
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
now it's like, well, I mean, it's a good thing because now people can go to Reverb and find out what something's worth. But the thing is, it might not be worth that around here or around your area, you
Hmm.
know? It might not be worth the highest price somebody's willing to pay and have it shipped to them. And for me, it looks like to me that Goodwill, while they're pricing it at that price, and it may be a flippable price, it's really pretty much what it's worth as an item. You
Hmm.
know, that's my opinion. It's not. It maybe there's some kind of vintage value or some kind of desirability to something, but really as an item, I don't think they're too far off from the final prices they go for what an item is actually worth.
Hmm.
And I think that's actually a good thing that they're providing for the gear world if it catches on a little bit because they're not going to change their prices too much. It
No,
might go for higher,
they're not
but
inflating, and I mean they don't have these basic employees all around, at your standard online Goodwill employee that's charged with putting this stuff up there is not going to look at too closely at value for all this stuff. They're just posting them up there to get rid of somebody's junk, and they're making
hmm
money off it because it's profit.
yeah,
Hmm.
Whatever they sell those guitars for, as long as they're clearing their shipping cost, is profit for them. So it's
yeah,
really, I mean, other than the fact that they got it, but they're charging for the handling.
yeah, for sure.
So
Because that's what matters.
they probably got that broken down hourly or
Yeah.
whatever with how much it costs an employee to do that, and they probably do have some kind of shipping hook up there. Um, but yeah, you're looking at a bunch of individual places that they don't want to beat up, Harmony sitting on their floor too long.
No,
They want that gone.
they
I
don't
have
want they don't
I
want
have
music stuff on their floor at all. I don't think
no
because it's encouragement for people to come in there and rip them off.
Yeah, and you don't ever see that. I've never seen anything musical other than toys at a Goodwill. And the other thing I haven't looked at is I used to hear that, like, if you ever found like a bow and arrow or an archery equipment at Goodwill, they'd have to trash it because they can't take weapons.
Yeah.
Huh.
And I don't know. I haven't looked on this site yet to see if archery equipment is now on there, but they didn't have the auction site back then.
Hmm.
So I'm sure they can't sell guns and stuff, but I'm
Oh,
wondering
yeah.
I'm wondering if like a bow and arrow is under like sporting equipment and they're allowed to sell bows now. I haven't had a chance to go on there and check it,
Hmm.
but this is all news to me. I mean, this is all totally new. Um, until I don't know if it was Cole Schneider or who showed us that.
I
Was it
think it was
Cole
Jamie Davis, wasn't it?
or was it Jamie? It was one of the two.
See, see,
Um,
I looked at it about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, and it wasn't like it is now. I mean, I think they realized how much you're selling. I mean, you'd find like one or two guitars and a half a dozen really cheap amps, and a couple different and a bunch of effects. At the time, there were just a bunch, big piles of effects, and they were selling them in lots. But you had no idea what the deal was with them. You know, for like $50 to $100 a lot of them.
hmm,
I wish I had got in on that, but I did. I don't want to get a big pile of effects that I don't know how to fix because they're
Hmm.
probably half broken or rusty or dusty or not working right.
well,
But
with an effect, I guess it would depend on what kind of an effect it is, but I mean, it can't be. I mean, they're all fixable. I mean, unless they're totally fried.
yeah, but if it's California or Louisiana or if it was a place that floods,
Hmm.
then you could end up with floods with high musician people count. You could easily have hundreds of effects that they just donated to get a write off or that were and then they didn't work, and they're waterlogged or something. I don't
Yeah.
know, but who knows? But the one thing I thought was interesting about the Goodwill site is the only things that were priced funny were the parts casters. The
Yeah.
parts casters.
Sorry,
Did
but
you guys
probably-
notice the parts
yeah.
casters?
What's
Yeah,
that?
there was like a Mustang on there that kind of caught my attention, and it was one of those things where I was like, this might be a good deal for someone, probably not me, but it was interesting to say the least because I imagine from them, like from a selling standpoint, that's a very hard thing to market.
Yeah.
But that was the thing on a lot of the guitars. I was thinking this a lot of these would be great projects if you're into certain things. Like,
Yeah,
and I really thought of Nick on this because like it was a gold mine for a lot of these Sears and you know, budget parlors of the past.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
that seems to be what they have a lot of. I mean, I've done a bunch of searches here for like effects pedal and guitar pedal and a bunch of stuff, and not a whole lot's coming up. But when you type in acoustic guitar or kids guitar or electric guitar, that seems to be what's coming up a lot. Like
Hmm.
there's so this is definitely good for some things. I mean, it's worth checking. I mean, yeah, it's definitely for me. I'm all about it. This is going to take quite a bit of my time.
Well,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's pretty sweet. I'm really happy to see this. I might get a really, if I can find one that is on early enough for me to get some more pictures of it. There might be a few steals in here. That could be really worth it, and well, could help a man build quite a collection.
now I'm curious. What I'm curious about is if any of our listeners, any of the people listening, have maybe actually bought something from the site. Because I'm kind of curious about about that, whether their shipping is accurate or whether they do ship things well. Maybe if we could find if somebody who's bought the site bought something from Goodwill could chime in
Yeah.
on that, because I have no idea. Who knows? Maybe they ship them just raw in a cardboard box,
Hmm.
or maybe they put a bunch of ugly sweaters around them for insulation or something. Who knows? I don't know which would be worse.
How funny would that be? You get like I got 3 free sweaters.
It's like that. That's like Goodwill's the Sweetwater.
That's their candy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. All I got was jeggings again.
you get some ribbon candy in there, but it's stuck to like a glass bowl and it won't come out.
It's in an old lady. It's in a bunch of old ladies' fur coats. It's in there.
Yeah.
There's like candy inside.
That makes me think of that song that was popular a few years ago. That I'm gonna go pop some tags. And there's like
Yeah.
this music
Yeah.
video with it. Yeah.
The thrift shop. Yep, the thrift shop.
Man, that reminds me of
Tag.
most of my clothes. Yeah, from the early 2000s was thrift shop. Yeah, for sure. I love that.
Yeah.
Josh
Yeah.
probably loved this. I like that song was catchy.
I know. I actually didn't hear that song all the way through ever, but yeah, I like to go to Goodwill a lot at one time and get most of my clothes from there because I was now I've upgraded to Walmart for the most part. But
Well, you know what I used to get there at Goodwill all the time was I'd look for wool sweaters.
yeah,
Because merino wool and wool-rich wool sweaters, I mean, my dad used to, I mean, they're valuable. My dad used to sell them, and it's not like you can find, that stuff all over the place now. But the problem is now people know what they're looking for, and they go in and they clean them out and they sell them on eBay shops.
Yeah.
So, you don't find them much. But I used to find like a wool sweater, a merino wool sweater, a thin one makes a really good base layer for hunting. So, I used to go in there all the time and look for them. I get work shirts there. A lot of times there's like brand new Arrow work shirts in there that somebody just cleaned their closet and never wore, or maybe they got fat after they got it and didn't bother taking it back. And they ended up in there, and you can get them. You can get a $50 shirt for 15, or for $5, $6.
oh yeah, for sure. So from Goodwill, I'm kind of curious, Clifton. How was your week? Did you do anything interesting this week?
Well, I have something kind of interesting that happened. Yesterday, I had just gotten up and I was flipping through Facebook, and I saw Cody Lake complaining about that all the gas stations he was going through from like Louisiana to Alabama only had boiled peanuts. And I was like, and so my first thought is, well, where is he? And I see Facebook shares location sometimes if you allow it, and totally not creeping here, but it said Columbia, Mississippi on his location, and I was like, well, that's 35 miles up the road from me, and I comment on it. I was like, dude, are you working there this week? And he was like, yeah. We're actually heading out though. We're leaving. This is our last day there. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, if you come back and, work here again, let me know. I don't mind making the drive up there. And so, like, later that afternoon, he was like, well, we delivered this load over to Alabama, and we're coming back this way. We're stopping in this town called Loosedale. And I was like, how far is that from you? I was like, well, it's about 60 miles. And anyways, so I was like, well, I got to work tonight, though, at the church. And he was like, that's no problem. And so he agrees, like, to come over and all the way to Popperville from there. And I think it was like 9 o'clock at night. We meet up at Arby's, hang out for a while. And then, anyways, he comes over to the house for a little bit. I show him a couple of my guitars and everything. And then he had to get back because he had to work the next day. But, yeah, it was really cool. Anytime like I can meet anybody through the the gear groups, it's always a lot of fun. And I hadn't met Cody yet, and so he was a super chill guy, really down to earth, and just I'd totally hang out with him again if he came through the area. So I don't know if you see Cody Lake coming through, listeners, if you see Cody Lake coming through, try to link up with him. He's a really super chill guy. So.
And he's always on the move too. So
yeah,
I mean he's
on the move. Cody Lake with his exploding guitars and amplifiers and his his tasteful songwriting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, were you ever, in high school? Were you voted most likely to meet a friend at a gas station?
Oh man. I tell you what, it had all the makings of like a serial killer documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems super shady, but like, I don't know. I hope nothing ever happens, but like, I really don't think anything would like that would happen. Like some of the guys I know in the Slum or the 60 Cycle Hum or even our show. Like, I just don't get that vibe. So I mean, I don't know. It's kind of comical, but
no, hey. I don't think we have any threats like that. I mean, I have been watching a lot of Mindhunter though, so I don't know. A couple of you guys are shady.
Who knows?
No, I'm just kidding. But no, you are, and plus you had already talked to Cody anyway. You talked to Cody twice.
Yeah.
And Cody, so it's not like that kind of thing. I don't know. It's always weird meeting somebody from the internet though.
Yeah.
Like Josh has been to Grand Rapids, I don't know how many times, and I've been through Lake City, I don't know how many times, because I have to go through Lake City to get up north to my parents' house. So, I mean, and we've like talked about meeting up, but we've never met up yet.
Yeah,
I feel like I know Josh now, but we still haven't met yet, and it's always weird, like that first time, where you're like meeting somebody. It's just an odd feeling.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for us, and I think for Cliff too, because especially for Cliff with all the kids he has, just finding time to do that, and it's like anytime you're doing that, it's like you're kind of taking time away from your family, and that's the difficult part. It's fun, and I want to do it, and I want to do more of that kind of stuff. I'd never actually gotten into meeting people in general, but it's a fun idea to think about. We were like literally miles apart because you went to Rainbow about the same time that I was at Guitar Center. When I was down in Grand Rapids, I was like at Guitar Center talking to Cliff about the Les Paul, and you were at Rainbow dropping off playing that K at the same time, about like within 15 minutes of each other.
And I can totally see, like, have you ever been, like, I have quite a few group chats going too, and have you ever been in a room with somebody and like meeting them for dinner or something, and you're both on group chat with somebody else or a couple different people, and you're on your phones chatting in the group chat instead of talking in real life?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say I do that. I pretty much shut off my phone unless it gets boring or I don't want to talk to people. But
boy,
that totally was
I'm a good
happening
boy.
when I was hanging with Cody the other night. because like we had this group chat like with you guys in it, and like so we're sitting there eating like Arby's, and like I can feel it like going off in my phone, like like you guys are responding, and it's like I was like, well, I'm trying to make the most of this, and be sociable.
You got your notifications turned on and vibrate. You're crazy.
Oh yeah, like all day long it's like
Mine are vibrate, yeah, too. Yeah.
You guys are nuts. I have that on silent. I check it when I want to check it.
oh well,
See,
that's good.
you're involved with two different types of things, though, and I mean, basically, you guys are the group chat for me, and most you guys, and maybe actually that's about it, and even that goes off an awful lot for me. It's pretty crazy how much you guys are talking. I miss like whole swaths of conversation.
I missed a bunch today, and they were all interesting. I don't know. They were actually relevant this time. It wasn't like when you guys were going off about PA systems and stuff before, and I had no idea what you were talking about. And I was like, Snorefest, I'm going to go, knock this Big Mac out, and I'll check this later. But like today, talking like you got your Mojo Minute guitar that we'll talk about later, and then we had Paul was posting his guitar. And then there was all this other stuff, and then somebody posted a listing about a Galveston in Big Rapids, that resonator guitar.
Yeah, that was me. That looks awesome.
Yeah, it does look awesome. $100. I was like, God, I missed that too, and I was like going up, and because usually what I do is if I missed like a whole, I mean, in other chats too, I chat with my archery friends and stuff, and like we'll have like, we've had a conversation going for like 3 years, and I'll miss like 20-30 minutes worth of messaging like nonstop because it all goes in bursts, and I don't even go back and check it because it's like I don't know where we are, but I'll just wander in like I didn't know what you guys were talking about and just be like, hey, what's going on, but yeah, I can't catch up like that. But now I was scrolling up today and looking at all the photos, and I was like, man, I really missed a lot today. But if I had notifications going off in my pocket all day, I'd go crazy.
Oh yeah,
like
it's super it's not good time management.
Yeah, for me, just because it's manageable. If there was more, I might completely mute it. But it's like a break from whatever I'm doing, And I really actually that's kind of an interesting topic to talk about for a moment. Is that this Facebook thing, this group thing that we have with with a like-minded interest, it gives you a little bit of, for me, it gives me a little bit of vacation from because when I'm in it, I'm in it. When I'm working, I'm working. When I'm doing something else, I'm doing something else, and it makes it really hard to get out for a second. And every time it buzzes, I can go and check it, and I'm in a different place for about for a minute or two, and it's like having a little vacation. I can go back to work and not be feeling like the drudgery.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, it's like, I've had this conversation a lot lately, but it's a lot about like finding your tribe. And one of the things that I probably need to work on is like doing that in real life with people more.
Yeah, I hear you.
But then like I think a lot of the people that like I run circles with like have this feeling too, like that it's hard to find your tribe, especially like when you're a creative person, like finding those people in your day-to-day life. So like when you find these people in these groups who are like super creative and as well, like it's like birds of a feather, kind of flock together. And so I don't know, it's just it's different. So
yeah, I had a funny situation at work like this, where it's interesting because so you can with the whole tribe thing, Clifton, the Facebook groups and stuff and social media, what it kind of does is it allows you to split yourself off into different versions of yourself.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
When you meet somebody in real life, you're like, they get all of you. Like, they're influenced by how you look. They're influenced by, how you speak. They're influenced on everything, or where they met you, how they know you in general, or maybe preconceived notions from somebody else. Most of the time online, you're not dealing with anything like that. They're getting who you want to be in that particular group or online, or how you met that person, how you want to be with that group of people. That's who you are in that group of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like phonetic code switching. Like when you're talking to people, like maybe if you're like, when I worked in the furniture industry or whatever, I tended to talk down, where I didn't show it. Like I scaled my vocabulary down and stuff like that. I talked like everybody else. I swore more,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. That's just code switching. If I'm around people who are more intellectual, I'll speak up to that level. Things like that. The internet's kind of like that, where you're, all right, I'm in my music group mode now. This is Nick in the music group. This is Nick with his bow hunting friends. This is Nick here. You're like a different person in every group. You're a different role. You're not a different person, but you fit a different role in all of these groups. Now, when it comes together, it's really, really interesting. So, like at work, Grand Valley did an article on me the other day, and it was about my archery and stuff, like, and how I'm writing a book and everything like that, and how, I do the longbow and all that other stuff, and I shoot a longbow and I hunt and everything, and the people who were doing the article and working on the magazine, my department does the magazine. They lay the piece out, so they got the photos after another department did my interview and took the photos and everything, and then our designers put it together. So our designers were like putting it together and like reading it and stuff, and they were like, I had no idea Nick did this. Yeah, working with him for years, had no idea I did that, just a little bit. And then some of them follow me on Instagram and stuff, and saw that I played when I started posting guitar stuff, because there was, like I said, like 4 or 5 years I didn't do that at all. This is the first time I've started to post my playing. Well, they started hearing me playing guitar, and they're like, he plays guitar too, like, and it's like they had no idea who I was.
Mm-hmm.
They knew Nick from work, and they, what they saw about my family on Facebook or whatever. But everything else that I am is on these private Facebook groups that they would have no idea unless they were there. And it's just funny how that's kind of works now. Everybody's kind of split themselves up into different pieces of themselves and made all these connections. And when worlds collide, it's kind of really interesting.
Yeah.
Especially like if I post, like when people have now started friending me, or I friended other people from different groups, like they'll be my friends and I'll post something on it. People had made fun of me before because I'll post something on my Facebook group, my profile, like my normal profile, and I'll get these people from all over the place commenting that they don't know each other. And watching those interactions is sometimes scary.
Yeah.
Cool too. Like, I don't know. You guys would get what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but it's just really, it's an interesting dynamic, and it's an interesting world that we live in now, where you can essentially, you're you, but you can be a different you, and you can do that a lot of different times. Depending on where you want to be, you can split yourself up and for each hobby and have a different person and fill a different role in every group. Almost like living a separate life.
Yeah, and I think there's like a fine balance between like trying to frame yourself to be something that you're not, or is the way I would like to see it, like incorporating, and this has kind of been my intent lately, is to incorporate like my whole self into what I'm putting out for people to know about me. So like for the longest time, like when it came to my music and everything, like I kind of had this feeling like, well, people aren't gonna like it. I don't really want to share that part of me, like, yeah, even like if I'm leading worship publicly, but like the songwriting that I do, or the all the other aspects of music that I enjoy, and like this has kind of been a way to incorporate like my whole like rounded self, like to everybody. And it's like, hey, this is what I am. I'm being more comfortable in my skin. Like, I'm not trying to just show that I'm just like this one thing to the public. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. And I was that you when Nick started bringing that up about your work people from work not necessarily knowing what you do, it got me thinking about something that kind of made it so that I kind of stopped talking about my interests at work.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was actually my dad. Somebody came in and asked my dad if he knew any guitar players, and this is when I was just starting working there, and it was like maybe oh my God, 15 years ago now and or even before that. And he mentioned me. And here's the thing: when I grew up playing music, I grew up playing my own music and
Mm-hmm.
writing my own stuff. And so then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go over to this guy's house and I'm going to play with him because he needs to. Um, he wants to get a guitar player and have along with him playing guitar and have a duo. So I'm thinking, okay, well, we'll learn some songs together. I get there. The guy has a full MIDI setup with all of his songs and tracks, and
Oh wow.
basically he wants us to play along with these songs, and then he sings.
Uh-huh.
And it's like for somebody who played in a basement trash punk band, trash rock band kind of. This is so far outside of my comfort zone, and I'd only jammed with the same guys since I was 14 or 15 years old, and having this guy want me to play to Margaritaville along with these really super cheesy tracks, and it just wasn't my thing to sit around playing cowboy chords at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about it now, and I think, you know what, I could do that now, and I'd be just fine. I could hang, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because I spent enough time playing a bunch of different songs by other people. But at that time, I'm like, I mean, this is alien to me, and I went out feeling horrible about myself because I couldn't keep up with this guy because he was doing such a weird thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
He was doing such a weird thing musically to me because it didn't feel like music at the time. It didn't feel like, and I mean, now I understand why he did it because it's a really good way to make money in the area,
Mm-hmm.
and he needed another person to fill out that to make it feel like a band. But still. I mean, that kind of made it like, okay, everybody I talk to, if I talk about my music or my drawing or something like that, or anything else that I happen to enjoy, I've got to wonder, is this person going to be from another planet and interested in the same thing? And I've got to try, and if we get together, or, that goes to that next level of hanging out, um, am I going to be embarrassed or ashamed or like, wow, okay, I mean, I don't mind being the worst player, but it almost felt like what I was doing and what he was doing were not both music.
Mm-hmm.
One has to be wrong. you know,
Yeah.
and I think that sometimes that buildup of that stuff, at least for people of our generation, makes it so that when you do something online, it's so much easier to be yourself because if you don't like those people or they happen to be from a different planet, they're gone.
Yeah.
They are gone. They're from a different region entirely. You'll never see them again if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that's
Mm.
that's the advantage is like you kind of can filter a little bit better. Whereas in real life, I know like for instance, like there was this situation where I had this friend uh, that uh, I went to school with and also at church with, and he was really into like at this time it was bizarre to me, but like hammered dulcimer music. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like his mom was really pushy about like, hey, why don't you come with us every Tuesday night? And like they're traveling 30 miles to this other town that had this like guild with like a dozen people would meet and they would jam for an hour and then go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like I'm a teenager and I agree to go, and like this lady like pays like a whole month's dues for me to go, like
Oh no.
while I'm there. And it's
Oh.
like the pressure like to keep going. And so I think I
Oh.
went two or three other times, but I kind of just like backpedaled because really I was uncomfortable with the music, like you were saying, like with the guy with Margaritaville.
Yeah.
I was really uncomfortable with that, and not that probably wouldn't have stretched me some, but it wasn't my tribe.
Yeah.
And I feel like online you can filter out like so you don't get in awkward situations like that.
For sure. For sure. That's really an interesting jag we went off on with this conversation, because that's something that's bothered me for years. And it's
Yeah.
like it made me feel less of a musician for 15 years now,
Yeah.
you know?
I think it's
Uh,
more like we got to find our tribe, you know?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, from music we haven't bonded with, why don't we talk about some gear we haven't bonded with? Something that maybe we bought, we we loved at the time
Uh huh.
because we thought we would love it, and then we get it home and we're like, huh,
Hmm.
what is this? Why did I think that I would enjoy this? Uh, does somebody want to start with that? Can anybody think of a particular piece of gear that they sought after and they really wanted, they got it home and they were confused as to why they bought it in the first place?
Oh, I got a pretty good one. I think, well, it's, have you ever heard of the BBE Sonic Stomp?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that pedal I think was the biggest disappointment I've ever had.
Huh.
And I've heard about that pedal. What I've heard about that pedal is that it's, you either love it or you hate it. And some think it's like an EP boost where it lifts a blanket off your amp and everything sounds more dynamic and great, and you run it in your effects loop and that's how it's supposed to be used, or whatever. And then there's people who just say that it's just a gimmick, it ain't doing anything, blah 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 blah, nothing but a EQ, or whatever. And I had a Randall solid state amp with a 412 Marshall cab with good speakers in it, and that was a really good sounding amp. I didn't play through the dirt channel, I only played through the clean channel, and I'd use effects. It was a pedal platform, and I couldn't quite get that tube feel that I wanted. And I ended up buying a BBE Sonic Stomp, and it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Turned it on, and I was like, I messed with it, and I read all the forums, and I was on Harmony Central going through all the reviews and trying to figure out how to use this thing. And at the time, it just didn't do anything. Like I remember messaging my buddy, and that was before I got my basement. I ended up selling that to get a basement.
Mhm.
And he was like, yeah, that pedal really doesn't, it's kind of more hype than it is anything else.
Yeah.
But the metalheads seem to rave about it.
That's interesting.
Whatever it does to the dynamics of their notes, getting it through the mush, that pedal does it. And that it automatically went back. Like I returned it the next day. And I can tell you that I think most of this category for me is all in effects pedals, just because I bought something that I've really wanted and thought it was going to be great, and I got it home and it was just awful. And some of them were awful anyway, and I don't know what I was thinking. Like I had a DoD death metal. I had that pedal was like, it was hyped as Pantera in a box, and it was like, it was supposed to be like the Dimebag sound. And when I was playing metal music, that was riffing, and that's really what I wanted. And I got it. It was like $20. It was on sale. It was like a stupid deal of the day. And I got that, and it was god awful, but I knew it was going to be. I just somehow thought, ooh, this is a diamond in the rough or something,
Yeah.
I've had 4 Boss DS1s in my life. The orange distortion pedal, the famous one. I've had modded ones. I've had, just stock ones. I mean, I've never been able to stick with those. Never really liked those, and some people really do like them. I can't say that they're super popular, but I think most people at some point in their life who likes pedals got a DS1. To at least try it. They're cheap,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tube screamers. I've had, I don't know how many tube screamers, mainly clones, not actual tube screamers, but tube screamer pedals. The circuits never spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
I like them for a while, and then I don't go back to them. I always end up selling them. I don't know what it is. It's just they're not for me. I think I'm more of a full range boost kind of guy. I'm not a mid range hump guy.
Yeah.
And that took me a really long time to figure out, because I mean, like I said, I've been through 4 or 5 Tube Screamer clones, and I've never liked it. I play Tube Screamers and the TS9s and the TS5s and all that in stores, and I've never really liked them. I don't know what it is, but for me, I think those things in particular, MXR pedals too, for some reason. I've had like, overdrives. I've had got the Ingve one time. The MXR Distortion, the red box one that they came out, the Distortion Plus or something like that.
Yeah.
And I've had I don't know how many MXR Dynacomps and compressors, and I like that one, but I never keep them. I always get rid of them. I don't know. Pretty much effects pedals for me. I can't really say that there's any guitars or amps I've got that I really didn't jive with, at least for a time anyway. Maybe amplifier wise, I had a Marshall Valve State that I thought was going to be really good and really didn't do what I wanted it to do. And that was coming from a Sobtech Midget MIG, 50 watt tube midget. And why I thought the Marshall Valve State was going to be better, I don't know, because it was a Marshall, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll give you one more and I'll let you guys go. But do you guys remember when Morley released the Bad Horsey Waz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had I got the Bad Horsey, the switchless Bad Horsey, and that was just hot garbage. That thing, because when you stepped on it, I don't know if you guys remembered this, but for one, the switching wasn't seamless. Like it was a little delay.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you hit it, and then if you didn't dime that pedal to the floor, it did nothing. It did absolutely nothing. And I remember at the time, the guy who was really like, it wasn't just Vi that was really endorsing it. It was Mark Tremonti. And Joe had that one lead sound too, dude. Like he had that, it was that pedal all the way to the floor, and he would just wank pentatonic. That's it.
Yeah.
With that pedal on, and it was that sound through that valve state. That was all that pedal could do. I had them both at the same time. That was all that pedal could do. That wah had to be all the way to the floor, otherwise you couldn't even hear it. And when it was switched off again, there was a delay.
Huh.
So everybody was raving about that pedal. It was in all the ads, and at least it was in all the pro guitar players' word that this pedal's groundbreaking. It's switchless. It's awesome, and it was a glorified volume pedal that had a little bit of to it, not wah.
Mm-hmm.
So that sucked. That pedal was terrible.
Yeah.
I thought I was really going to like it though, and I did for about 2 days, and then I wanted to get rid of it. But those are mine.
Yeah.
What about you, Josh? You got any?
Okay. Well, one time I bought a violin, and that didn't go so well. I was playing mandolin a lot. I was thinking, maybe I'll add some violin in. And what I didn't realize is that when you buy a violin, it takes 5 years to make a decent sound.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could actually take that violin and I could play it like a mandolin and play everything that I played on mandolin, no problem, on the violin. But the problem is that the bow, and you would try to, and I could maybe pluck out, or I could probably maybe screech out, "Twinkle Twinkle a little star," or "Soldier's Joy," or squeak out the first couple lines of Blackberry Blossom, and I'm like, I can't take this, and so I actually I sold that and a bunch of other stuff, and ended up with that was the start of the money that I saved up to get my Martin. But about the Sonic Stomp, I've had a player that played with us for a while that was really into his Sonic Stomp, and I'll tell you what it did. It added like a harmonic distortion to the highs and the lows. And so basically his amp, sure, it sounded good, but as soon as anybody else played and actually had a tight focused EQ, he was gone.
Interesting.
And it's kind of like when you're in your room with a practice amp and you scoop the mids, it sounds really big and full, but then you try to play with a band, you just disappear. It kind of does that times 10. In my opinion, the low process and the high process, it makes the lows nice and thumpy, and it makes the highs sparkly. But that means that if you don't pump your mids way up, which will flatten out those things that that you like about it. It disappears. So I mean, I'm thinking that as a recording tool, it's probably great. And if you're listening to it in ears like this guy was and had his amp going too, it's probably great. But it just made his sound disappear. And so for Nick, you like that huge high end, that bright, sharp high end, and it wouldn't have did jack for you there. I mean, I can understand why people wouldn't hear it. I mean, I could hear the difference, and I thought it sounded cool. But anytime he'd try to play anything, and if the bass was going and if the drums were going, you couldn't hear him. Period. What about you, Clifton?
Well, I was trying to think of some things I haven't bonded with. There's been guitars that I've thought I'd like and then didn't keep them for long and kind of moved them on along to fund something else. But when it comes to pedals, I can agree on the DS1, like it's an okay pedal, but it doesn't do it for me. Like, I've played other distortions, like okay, I've got this Jekyll and Hyde I've had for several years, and I love the distortion on that one. And so when I got a DS1, I was, A-B'ing them, and it's like I just couldn't justify having the DS1 on my pedal board because it just it didn't hit the sweet spots as good. It wasn't as refined. And then so later I came across a really killer deal on a TC Electronics Dark Matter. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to give another shot at a higher gain distortion pedal. And I kind of found the same exact thing. And I know it matters a lot with the rig that you're playing. When I had both of those pedals, I would, when I had my 5-watt tube amp, I'd keep in my office. It sounded pretty good running those through a low watt amp. But when I got into some of my higher headroom amps that I normally play, it didn't do it for me at all. And so I think a lot of pedals, it really does matter what amp you're playing and how much headroom you have to play with. I know another type of pedal that I never have really bonded with, and that is compressors. I just can't seem to I don't like the sound of one, especially in country music. I think of compressors and chorus, a lot of the 80s pop country, and I just can't dig that sound. Now, I know a good example of compression is the Trey Anastasio from Fish.
Yeah.
He compresses his guitars to where they have so much gain. I mean, gain and also sustain. And that's an interesting sound, but it's not my sound. And so maybe it's because I've never spent a lot of time with them, but that's one that I've just never seen as necessary in my signal chain. And I think it has a lot to do with the style I play and the way I play and the way I set my whole pedal board and amp up. But it's one of those I've never found a need for.
Yeah, you do have to make, compressors play weird with other pedals. That's for sure. And the thing with the compressor that I've always found, and I played with so many over the years, is that you just can't, if you dial one in and then dial it back out, if you just stomp on it and stop it, you got to kind of have it on all the time, is what I've found.
Yeah.
Or if you're A-B'ing 2 amps together, maybe one's running the compressor and that's your cleans. Or you're doing something like that. But that's what's always driven me nuts. Is it most compressors I've played, so the best one I've ever played is the Ego I bought. And I ended up selling that one just because it just wasn't letting, I don't know, it was good when I wanted it to be there, it was good. If I was playing more cleaner, I really liked that sound. And this is just me. But whenever I added any dirt to it, I didn't like what it did. I wanted to adjust it. I'm sure some of the compressors like the Cali 76 and some of those, I've heard they really do that. the quintessential, slide compressed tone is Lowell George, Little Feat. And that's what one of the Cali pedals is based off of. It's like two compressors in one box, and that's kind of what he used. He had two studio compressors he used to get that sound, and it's a really good sound, but it's there all the time. That's what I found. And you can get tired of it. Your ear can get tired of it really quick. The notes don't breathe. I mean, there's always a little bit of squash. They sound a little stale. Not stale, but I guess a little dead. It can be like, I get bored of it. Like, I'll play it for a while and I want to play really funky, and I'll play a different way when I've got compression on. But when I take but then after a while, I'm like, I'll take the compressor off, and all of a sudden I love my sound. And it's like, where was that before? It's more organic, more natural, and for what I play, that really, you need it. That's why people play crappy tube amps and low output pickups and stuff like that. I mean, because you want that kind of rawness. I still use the compressor, but actually I use the one in the Katana now. I use the orange squeezer, and it's barely on. Just gives me a little bit, but I think I only have it on because it's the Katana and it's a solid state amp, and I want to warm it up a touch.
Yeah.
But that's really it. I don't know, Josh. You had a comment.
Well, yeah, with compression, I've noticed for me, especially I'll have it off a lot when I'm playing at home, but then if I'm playing at church, I have it on almost the whole time. And actually, sometimes I've occasionally set it up so that I make it an underdrive. So I have my Katana set up for just the edge of breakup, and then I have my drives for like boosts, and then I'll use the compressor. I'll turn it on to underdrive the Katana and clean it up, because the problem is that when you're playing like a rhythm part, and your sound guy, like most sound guys, wants everything to kind of always be the same level. The compressor is a really good way of taking the hair off without taking a lot of volume out. And so if you do it just so that it underdrives and cleans up and tightens up, then all of a sudden you can have a rhythm sound. And that's what I've been using it for. And then other than that, I'll very often, if it's feeling like everything is too loud, I'll use my compressor to set my level. And it's a different way of using a compressor. I think it's actually kind of the way that you're supposed to use compression. But it's not the way that guitar players use compression. And the reason I do that is because we're playing through in-ears and we're playing through house, and I'm playing on a quiet stage.
Yeah.
And that way I have control over that, and I can have everything be at one level for the sound guy so that he's happy, and I can still have some control over the sound and put myself over or under with EQ rather than volume.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the way that I use a compressor. There's so many different ways of using it. I was using it the way, because I always thought, the tray sound, where it's like you can crank that compressor, squash the heck out of everything, put a couple drives on, and then have everything be the same volume and do all your wheedlies. Yeah, I mean...
Can't stand
I know. So, so anyway...
Fish.
Oh my goodness, we found your eagles.
You might have. I wasn't thinking about
That
this.
leads us to another territory, right?
I think we ought to go to picks, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because we've talked quite a lot about stuff, and we're at a good time. So, picks this week. What's been inspiring you guys?
I thought we were inspired. These were the picks we were inspired to hate.
Ah, okay. This is the bands that we like but we don't. Let's go ahead and do that for our picks this week. So what we're thinking is, there's bands out there. They seem like the kind of bands that on paper we should like, but we don't like them. So for you guys, what do you guys think? What's a band that you should like that you don't, or one that you just can't stand to hear?
Well, I'm going first because we already talked about it just now.
Okay.
Fish.
Really?
I freaking can't stand. No, I'm serious. I hate Fish. I've hated
so
Fish.
Weird.
And I know you think I'd like it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't like the Dead either. So, I mean, when I was in junior high, everybody was all about the Grateful Dead. When I was in high school, people, weren't really talking about Fish, but the people who were into the Grateful Dead liked Fish. And then I got into college and more people liked Fish. And I was like, you know what? Fish sucks. I don't need to go. I don't know. I don't need to go and hear one song for 45 minutes and hear how good this guy's tone is. And I mean, every single guitar magazine you bought, they talked about how good Trey Anastasio's tone is. And I'm like, it ain't that great.
Okay.
I guess
Okay.
I guess if that's your thing and you like that, real mellow, Yes style guitar playing, that's super clean and all that. I mean, okay, fine. But that band just it does nothing for me. He's an incredible musician. They are all incredible musicians, and I give them all the respect in the world. I'm not going to listen to one song, probably ever again. I just can't get into it, dude. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Well, that makes me think of there's like this shred video that was going around a few months back, and it was like what people who don't like Phish, what it sounds like to them.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
It was funny. And the thing is, I don't think of them that way because I never saw them live, and I didn't really like their live stuff. I like the albums.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole thing. The live stuff, I had no interest in it because it just sounded like a bunch of wanking. I mean, it has great tone and stuff, but I like the albums. I liked hearing the potential of an 8-minute solo or 10-minute solo without actually hearing an 8 or 10-minute solo. Because it's like, yeah, I can see where they could go off there. But I don't need it.
If I was really into weed, I'd like Phish. I mean, maybe that is something that you need to be into weed. I mean, I don't know, but I get if I was into weed, I probably would have been listening to Dave Matthews more or something. I
think it's heavier drugs than weed, man.
See, that's the thing. I like Dave Matthews, but I like the albums. I could care less about them being a jam band, either one of them, or Blues Traveler.
Yeah.
I could care less about them being.
I like Blues Traveler and Dave Matthews. That was more that.
Yeah.
I like songwriting, and they could write songs. I used to like Blues Traveler.
And so can Phish.
No.
Oh, come on.
No, he can't play a simple song to save his life.
Dirt. Listen to Dirt. Dirt stays on the D chord for like most of the verse.
Well, that's great.
And it's a good simple song.
I'll give you guys a quick one that I should like and I don't hate, but I don't listen to anymore. Journey.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't anymore. I can't. I don't know what it is. If I hear that one song about circus life and frickin' what is that? And then the one that mentions Detroit and everybody sings and I get no. I
Lights go down in the city.
No, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
It's a great singer. Neil Sean is a terrible hair, great guitar player, great tone. I can't. I used to like him. I can't anymore. You put that on, my little brother's like, oh, Journey's greatest hits, and he'll just go ape. Yeah, I mean ape over it. And my wife's seen him twice with Def Leppard. I just can't anymore. They overplayed. I think. I think that's what did it to me. I think it just overplayed.
Yeah. I think
if somebody talks about something, if somebody talks up something long enough to me, I don't like it anymore.
I think I could agree with you on Journey. Like, I could get tired of that really quick. I could see where it fit in a certain place and time, but I actually have no relatability to that. And a lot of prog rock is like that for me.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I just cannot get into it. Like Rush, I can.
That's your pick?
Yeah, Rush is like, I can listen to that, and Geddy Lee, he's super talented, and is it Alex Lifeson? Is that the guitar player?
Guitar player, yeah.
Yes.
He's good. I mean, they're all super, super talented, but I just can't stand the style. It's just it's very stylized, and I don't get it. I cannot relate to it on any level.
Wasn't Rush their own style when they came out though? I mean, didn't they?
And I think that's like they started a whole genre of rock basically. Where people want to sound like that and ultra produced and playing highly technical parts. Yes is a little bit like that.
I can't stand them either.
But there is some merit to Yes because they're so unusual. But yeah, I can't listen to Yes for a long time. I mean, I can
No.
take them in short little spurts. I mean, even I know I'm gonna get some hate mail on this. Um,
Yeah, right.
Pink
Do people
Floyd.
send mail
I
into the
can
show?
only take so much of Pink Floyd for a while, and I
Yeah,
love like their radio singles, but like if to sit there and listen to the weirdness like
to an
on and
album.
on and
Yeah.
on and on and on, I have a hard time connecting the dots. Um, Now, for instance, like there are certain riffs and things that David Gilmour does that like, oh man, I love that. I love that tone. Or but just like the whole thing packaged up and produced and put in a package for you, like it's a hard thing to consume for me.
Well,
Yeah.
he's one of the greatest soloists of all time, right? Like he, as far as rock music is concerned, David Gilmour's solos. I mean, he's known for
Yeah.
being a guy that has incredibly. I mean, Neil Sean's like this too. Incredibly vocalized solos, well planned out, tasteful playing, really powerful parts. Um, Almost like they're almost symphonic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they fit the songs perfectly. I think where Floyd. I love Pink Floyd. I grew up on Pink Floyd. I think where Floyd loses me is every song sounds too much like the one before.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
and I just can't. I mean, I love Learning to Fly. Um, or is that what that song is called? I can't remember. But I mean, I can't listen to Floyd for a really long period of time. Now, what I can do with Floyd though is, um, I can sit down and zone out to Floyd, I guess, and not even and like it's not on.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can do that. Maybe it's because I've heard it so much, but like that's one of the few bands I can put on at work and not really have to sit down and get distracted by it because my time for appreciating it is over. Maybe,
Yeah.
um, if that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
it's not revving my engine anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
I and you know if you've been on enough Stratocaster forums, you're just tired of hearing about David Gilmour.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
that's a good pick, Cliffy.
Yeah, it is.
Rush, I think I will tell you this, Cliff. That you should try if you've never heard the Counterparts album. I think that's their best album,
Okay.
and it was one of their more modern albums. It's that blue one with the nut and the screw on it.
Okay.
And it's got Double Agent and it's got a bunch of other songs on it, and that one's really really good. And that was the one where Neil Peart really kind of opened up his playing. He worked with a jazz guy for a long time, and he kind of got out of that prog rock feel and started getting more into like an open area drumming, and that really changed their sound for that album. And I think that's their best one. But you should check it out if you haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I mean, I'm not close-minded to it. It's just like from what I've experienced, it's like not one of those things I've ever latched on to. And
Mm.
and I think, and I'll say this real quick and I hope I don't cause any controversy here, but there's a lot in the alternative rock scene. Like some of it's raw and I love it and I can go back and it kind of brings me back to my teenage years, and then some of it is completely unrelatable to me. Like for a while when I was in high school, like Three Doors Down was huge here. They were a Mississippi Gulf Coast band. They were huge, and
Same
I
here.
never got it. Like I never could get into their sound and their whole what they were about. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I never got Three Doors Down at all. I never understood them at all. As a
I
thing.
like
Yeah, of course.
I liked Three Doors Down. I really thought that the Kryptonite album was well written, and I liked all their songs. I used to run to their songs a lot.
And maybe it's just it wasn't approachable to me. I think, and this is the thing, like when I think about music from high school, is like if there were people like a crowd that liked it that I didn't run with, then maybe I kind of discounted that music, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. That was me and Slayer.
Yeah.
We had a group of kids that hung out down at the pizza shop and played arcade games and smoked, and they listened, and we called them Slays. And they would wear like Slayer t-shirts, but they didn't listen to Slayer. So Slayer was jaded. Slayer was just one of those bands, like, it looked cool if you had like their shirts on and stuff, because that meant you were like a rebel kid.
Yeah.
Korn was like that too.
I like Korn.
I loved Korn too, but I didn't start to appreciate Korn until like college.
Really?
Like, yeah, my brother was like the black sheep of the family, my middle brother, and he liked Korn. And he liked, Slayer and Megadeth, and he was listening to like Iron Maiden and stuff like that, and like just weird bands that wasn't popular at the time. But Slayer was that for me. Slayer was like, I love their music. Like, I listened to Slayer and I'm like, I can see what they were doing. Like the earlier Slayer albums, like Rain and Blood and stuff like that, were like, I mean, pretty groundbreaking metal stuff. I really, really liked it. I mean, the guitar playing was great. Kerry King. And then I don't know, the kids that I didn't run with listened to it or wore the shirts and stuff, so I never gave it a shot. They probably would have liked it. Pantera was like that too. I love Pantera, and Pantera, probably my favorite metal band of all time is Pantera. And I would not give it the time of day. Actually, I never listened to it until after Dime died. That's when I really started listening to it, and I really started to appreciate it. And I was like, wow, this was a really good band. Why was I listening to Metallica in high school and not listening to this? Like, anyway, that's
yeah. So for me, it's I've got a few that are, and they're kind of going back and forth in my head, but I'd say, now this is what I've heard of them. I know that everybody talks about other periods of time, but what I hear of Fleetwood Mac, I can't stand.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm serious, and it's it's kind of the songwriting, because it's that similar thing to the Eagles, which I'm not going to mention as the band that seems like I should like, but I don't. But it's that similar thing where it's like it just feels like everybody hates each other, and they're writing these songs for cash. And then there's this, and it's what it feels like to me. It just feels like everybody hates each other, and it's all these really talented people who hate each other. And it just feels like that. I don't know why, but it just does.
With me, everything Lindsey Buckingham had to do with writing, I hated it.
Yeah.
And
then the other thing is that there's something in the way that it's mixed.
Yeah.
There's something in the way that the stuff that's on the radio from Fleetwood Mac is mixed, that it feels like an ice pick going through my eardrum. And I don't know, there's these overtones that it's like, that should not be there. That's not meant for human hearing. It does not pull. And I think it might be something in Stevie Nicks' voice. I'm not sure. But there's just something going on there.
The only Stevie Nicks I really, really love is like where she kind of did that Don't Stop Dragging My Heart Around with Tom Petty.
Yeah, me too. I really like that song. And I think it's because Tom Petty was able to hit some kind of harmonic that canceled that out.
Yeah.
Because there's something going on there where
you
we're like,
you don't like Rihanna or Goldust Woman, really?
Well, Rihanna has a similar thing going on with her voice. She's got this secondary.
No, not Rihanna. I mean, the song. What is it? It's not Rihanna. It's Rihanna or the Stevie Nicks song, not the artist.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was thinking the artist Rihanna does have a similar thing with her vocal fry that she does, where she hits these off harmonics that you can that just kind of pierce through my head.
She almost sounds auto-tuned.
Well,
she can do something with her voice. She can
it might be, but it's her speaking voice and everything in it. There's a secondary note that she's hitting that makes it really compelling to listen to if you don't have an ear. But if you have an ear, you're hearing this secondary note just go yeah.
Well, I apparently don't, because I don't know what you're talking.
Okay. Well,
I've probably ruined my ears listening to music too loud over the years that I probably don't hear certain frequencies, I imagine.
Yeah.
or Josh is a robot, and people who have human ears actually don't hear that.
Well,
no,
I'm always kind of sensitive to that a little bit, because there's and I think it's It's just something. There's these little things here and there where I don't care if somebody's auto-tuned. I don't care if somebody's, out-of-tune. But there's certain tones that I can hear in a voice that it's like there's these secondary notes that are going off from the primary note. And sometimes it's like like fingers on a chalkboard, or it's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's just a continuing examination of my neurosis, I suppose.
No, I can appreciate the fact that you don't appreciate them.
that's a very diplomatic way.
I like 4 songs, so I'm not saying that I'm like a huge fan.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them that are just hot garbage.
Oh yeah.
They're especially their faster paced Lindsey Buckingham stuff. I can't stand that stuff. I like the slower, haunting gypsy Stevie Nicks stuff. That's the stuff I like.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that he was the guy kind of like that I always saw as like this paragon of playing in all the guitar magazines. I'm like, I don't get it. I saw this Lindsey Buckingham stuff and I'm like, okay, I get Trey. I don't get why he's the guy that you're talking about all the time.
I think it's the Mark Knopfler thing. Like whenever anybody finger picks an electric guitar and at the time like that, like he brought like a weird finger style way of playing that made him sound different than a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So I think just his technique has made him kind of like this guitar icon just because he's so different. And because he's been in a band that's been around a long time. But he's not Mark Knopfler.
No.
Mark Knopfler's amazing. Like Lindsey Buckingham's like a cheap man's Mark Knopfler. I don't know. He probably listens to our podcast. That would be hilarious.
You aren't mad at me, are you, Lindsey? It reminds me of there's a SNL sketch. It's got Kenan Thompson, and it's called "What's Up with That?" And there's this like made up Lindsey Buckingham character that's on this guy's talk show every week, and it like goes off the rails, and like Lindsey sits there and never gets to say a word. Like Kenan Thompson's acting all crazy, and he'll always at the end he'll be like, "You aren't mad at me, are you, Lindsey?" And Lindsey will have this frown on his face, and then like he'll just like it'll turn into a smile, and he'll be like, it's okay," and like that's how it goes every time they did that sketch. And so I've got this like really distorted view about Lindsey Buckingham off of this. I think it's like Bill Hader or something that did the character.
It would have to be Bill Hader, and I can totally see that.
That's hilarious.
I'll have to post that in the group.
Yeah, that would be good. So getting from there, I think we all know what time it is.
Yes. What time is it? Not ready.
What time is it? Okay, let's try that again. Going from there, I think we all know what time it is.
And I probably just woke my kids up, and my wife's probably really angry at me.
It's time for the Mojo Minute, right?
Yeah, and it's time for the Mojo Minute. And you know what? We got a special one today because Josh was just given a piece of crap guitar.
Hey.
And... All right, no, he wasn't really given a piece of crap guitar. He was giving Mr. Non-Mojo, Mr. Non-Believer, was given an arch top.
Yeah.
And what kind of arch top is it, Josh?
Well, it's a silver tone arch top. It kind of has an ES 125 look to it, but without the electric part, which I'm going to change very shortly. And it's something that a student of mine about a year and a half ago bought at a estate sale, and he bought it for $30 or so. And I got it up and playing, and I was looking at the neck, and I said, "Hey, you don't have very long for this neck joint, and I don't know how long it's going to last." And he played it for a while, and he brought it in the next week, and about 6 months ago, he's like, I just can't play it anymore. And the neck joint had separated. And so down the line, I thought, well, I'd like to buy that from him and see if I couldn't, put that neck back together, because I wanted to see if I could get it playing like it did at first again.
Well, then you believe in Mojo.
No, I don't.
So what did you do to the guitar first to fix it? How did you take the neck off?
With a hammer. I looked at it, and it looked very similar to the type of joints that like we have at the store. We have a furniture store, and we have these mortise and tenon joint futons that occasionally will have an issue where we have to pop a glue joint apart.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you pop a glue joint with modern glues, they're stronger than wood, and you can't really heat them up and soften them. And so what I do is I have a particular way of hitting these futons with a hammer and a block of wood in between it, where it shocks that really hard spot and cracks it. And so I figured, well, I'll give that a shot. What's the worst that could happen? And so I went ahead and did that 3 times, and it popped right off.
3?
Yeah, tap, tap, tap. It's not hard. It's not hard. I'm not like cracking it with a hammer. And
at least you used a block of wood on the poor damn thing.
Well, yeah, there's a particular place you gotta focus it on a joint like that.
I mean, if you're gonna use a claw hammer, you got to be subtle, and it's not like you used a rubber mallet. You used a claw hammer.
The thing is that for that particular thing, I've got mallets, and I use them all the time in at work. But you've got to hit that glue joint just right. It's actually a more delicate thing, and it's something that I've done a lot of times in other places, or I wouldn't have done it. You know.
I mean, it sounds delicate what you just described.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, I popped that glue joint off, and and part of the reason why it came off so easily was because they had used some sort of almost adhesive caulk or some kind of like permanently malleable glue inside of it.
Oh.
And so I scraped that off. I glued it back together with some glue, and I figured out how to clamp it by watching a YouTube video and just kind of guessing. And I let it sit for as long as I could stand it, about 8 hours. And I strung it up and played it, and it sounds good. I can't say it's a guitar that I'll play all the time, but I'm going to have some fun playing with it and messing with it, and it's nice to have a guitar.
Oh, you just give it some time. You just give it some time. It's going to speak to you, and it's going to speak through you, and it will turn you into something that you probably aren't, and you're going to be playing like you're going to be doing all those old jazz tunes. Who's that guy that you like? I don't know jazz people.
Joe Pass, Django Reinhardt,
Metheny. That's who you're going to be.
Oh, I can't. Metheny and Schofield were going to be my choices for the ones that I should like, but I don't. Those two. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I can definitely hear myself playing a little bit differently with it, but it's not really the kind of thing that I don't know.
What kind of pickup you got in that beast?
I haven't put it I haven't put it on there yet. I kind of took a picture of it mocked up, but what it is a $5 acoustic pickup that I found at Merchandise Outlet, which is
yes.
And so I'm gonna have to see what it does. I got it working, and they actually had cut a hunk out from when they did this bad neck reset. They cut most of the neck away underneath the fretboard after it met the body, and so there was this 1/4-inch hunk left out of it. So I made a new hunk for it, and I attached the pickup to the hunk, and I'm gonna stick it up in there. And it actually looks like it looks good in the mock-up.
It does look good. You essentially just created a bigger hunk because I'm using that same pickup on 2 different guitars, and it's pretty bad. But it actually, I will tell you this. Okay, so what's funny about this is that I think was this marketed as a gold foil?
It was. I don't know. It was in the bottom of a pile, and it said $5 on it. So I bought it.
Okay, so yours was legit. Yours was legitly marketed. Mine said gold foil on and they look like gold foils. They have like, you'll see a picture. I'm sure Josh will post it, but there's like holes. It's like, so it's plastic case and it's got a metal bracket on. Yeah, it doesn't have the metal bracket. Mine has the metal bracket.
I took it off.
Yeah, you took yours off, and mine are both sound hole pickups. But these things are like $10. They come with a really cheap cord. And it's really just a rail magnet pickup inside of that casing with a strip of what looks like a bubblegum wrapper above it.
Yep.
And that's all the pickup is. And it's weird because it's like one of those pickups that's not like really wound. It's like a weird, like you were saying, Josh, it's got a tape around it or something. It's like it's got copper wire, then it's got tape, but it's like not potted.
No.
It's like really microphonic. And what's nice about it is if you put it, I think it makes a really good acoustic pickup for how much I paid for it, because it is that microphonic, and it really does pick the strings up well. I'm actually been pretty impressed with it. I think I'm going to replace the ones in mine with Victory pickups from Victory Guitar Co. But these aren't bad. They aren't bad. You're going to like it for playing clean. I think you're going to like it fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to plug it in, but I just wanted to have that option. Plus, just looks so, even if it doesn't work, it just looks so darn cool on there. I mean, and this is me doing something for looks, which is really weird. But I mean, I'm going to put.
I don't know what Cliff. I thought it looked pretty natural with him though.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it could definitely kind of throw you into some new territory as a player, for sure. And that's, that's kind of like what my arch top did. It threw me into some new territory. So it really is nice to have different tools, in your toolbox that can kind of help push you in some areas and some directions that you normally wouldn't.
Well, and you were saying, Josh, that you kind of wanted to leave that guitar laying around because it's a cheapie and you could do writing on it. And I think that's what those kinds of guitars are great for. I leave my Harmony all over the house. I mean, it's nice to just pick up and play on them. And you always hear musicians talk about their writer guitar.
Yeah.
The ones that and those are the ones that end up, being like their guitar.
Yeah.
And that's kind of neat. You might really fall in love with this thing after a while, and maybe creativity will just start oozing out of you for all you know. Maybe you'll start writing on it better. And I also find that, Mojo for me is the fact that, if something maybe is a little more difficult to play, or you play a little differently on it, or you got to do something different to it, you kind of get a little more creative with less, I guess. Like Mike Kingston's all jacked up, and honestly, more riffs come out of that guitar than anything else. So I don't know what it is, but it's just one of those things. But I think that's really cool. And now you said that when you play that guitar, like the whole thing vibrates.
Yeah, it's really actually pretty interesting. I had it all, and when I played it for that little video, and maybe I'll post that, I actually just tuned the E string up to the highest note or the lowest note, where I could actually tune everything else up and have it play. So it was actually closer to like a D sharp, or it was like D sharp standard or D standard, as opposed to playing an E standard. And the whole thing, the back was vibrating, the top was vibrating. I felt it in my hand on the neck, and it's like the thing is just alive now. And I think, it wasn't like that before because of the layer of caulk or whatever that was in there. But I think that this wood glue that I used created a really firm bond, and it's got a nice sound. I've been really surprised with it. The other thing is, because it's an arch top, and like when we talked about arch tops, it kind of projects out. So if I kind of hummed and sang along with it for a little bit, while my boy was playing cajon with me down here, and it's a little bit easier to sing with, without having a microphone in front of me, because the sound's not coming up into my face, and so I don't feel like I have to sing over the guitar. So it might be a really good writing guitar. I don't know. It's definitely got a nice sound, and if I really like it, I might put some money behind the pickup and do a Bill Lawrence on there or something, and do a Bill Lawrence, or do a slim. Do the slim Artex. They have some Artex slim jazz pickups out there.
Well, but you're gonna have to keep us posted on that, because I really, with as much as you like jazz music and those types of players, I think if you put a pickup in that thing and find a really good, maybe put that jazz chorus setting on that katana, and get some really lush, clean sounds out of that thing, you could really like. I really want to hear how that sounds.
Yeah, I'm curious about it too. I don't know if I'll be able to plug in tonight. It's getting kind of late, but I definitely want to try it. I got the pickup working, and I've got it wired up, and now I can put it in there temporarily. And that's the other thing. I can slide that block of wood in and out. So I can slide that block of wood underneath the fretboard and have what looks like a installed neck pickup, and then slide it back out and have what looks like a full acoustic, because of this guy's hack job where he cut out. And the thing is, I know what they did. they wanted to make the action lower, but they accidentally ran everything the other way, so it actually made the action higher because they cut off the back side of the mortise and tenon joint, and so that it would go back deeper. And so just imagine they took that neck and they headed it, they put it closer to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Are you in time for the mod contest?
I think I am, but I'm not going to beat certain ones that we saw, but I might put it in there.
Participate.
I might. It just depends on how it sounds. I mean, the thing is, the look is killer when I put that pickup on. The look is just killer, especially with that. Oh, that's the other mod. I made a mod to the pickup. I put a copper sheet behind the thing instead of the ugly silver. So it kind of has a silver and black look to it, and it's actually a pretty cool looking pickup.
I think the whole thing looks really good.
Yeah.
I want to play it someday, so you're gonna have to get that thing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's not. We'll see if it holds. I mean, who knows? It might blow apart in a week. I hope not. But
you can always put it back together again. That's.
It could blow apart tonight.
Yeah, it could. It could. You never know. You never know.
Hey, Josh, real quick, you should install a hinge on it so you can fold it up and put it in a carry-on. And put it
Actually, yeah, maybe so.
Oh.
It does have that skinny
but not like a hinge that actually looks good. You should use like an old Morgan door hinge, like from the shop.
Yeah, barn door hinge. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
With a lock and fisheye on the back.
Oh, dude. Yeah, maybe so. Well, that it was just fun to have this come together, and then actually have it be tunable and playable, and have it a guitar with flat wounds in the house again is a fun. I miss that.
Yeah.
And also it feels smaller than the Sheridan I used to have, so it's a nice combination of things. Only thing I'm not crazy about is the frets. The frets are those low, tiny ones. I'd like big, tall ones on there, but It's not bad. I'll get used to it. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah.
Sleep.
Yeah, for sure.
Cliffy's nodding off over there.
Yeah.
And we've had this thing going for a while. We should probably shut this down, eh, boys?
Yeah, it's been fun, guys. It's been fun.
We've had a lot of good discussion this week, and anyways, I was gonna say that got NAMM coming up here in a couple weeks, and I kind of close out with this. I just saw where Fender has some new models where like they've got Telecasters with like Mastery bridges and like Jazzmaster parts and stuff. Really interesting.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
So I can't wait to go check out some of that. And I don't know if anybody's listening that you have like a particular thing that you want me to go check out. I'll try to do my best. Just hit me up on here or in the group, and I kind of have a clean slate. So if there's something that you're curious about, let me know, and I'll try to go find it and look it up. So
cool.
All right. Well, this is another episode of the Whirly Birds, and we'll talk to you guys later.
We'll see ya.
Later, guys.
Later.